right, we are in sales on US 30. It's been sales on US 30, so we're approaching TP1, so we'll see what happens. All right, we just hit TP1, so I'm about to move stops to break even. All right, we're approaching TP2, almost there. There's a little bit of a level there at that black line, so I'm a little bit concerned about that, but we'll see. We should be able to push through that level. About to hit TP2, and we just hit TP2. I'm thinking about closing because this level is pretty big. This level's pretty big. All right, so I took profits, as you can see. I just closed it out. As you can see, there are no entry, SL, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I took profits. So becoming a full-time trader is so difficult because, one, you want to use trading to become your main source of income, right? Like that in and of itself is so difficult. Why? Because it's not, well, number one, it's not a consistent paycheck, and number two, the mindset that you come to it with, you come to it thinking that you're going to earn something every day. And even though you tell yourself like, yeah, okay, I know there are going to be losses, but the reality is you don't really accept the fact that there are going to be losses. And you might lose a lot more than you expect. And even with that, you can still be very, very profitable. Like me, I've lost way more than I thought I would, and I'm still profitable. But that's the number one problem that keeps people, moving from one strategy to the next. I know that's what kept me from moving from one strategy to the next, is just like losing more than I expected or wanted to in terms of like the number of trades or win rate or percentage or whatever. And then thinking, oh, this doesn't work, and let me just move to the next thing. But that's not really what you should be doing. You should just focus on one strategy that fits your personality, right? Fits your personality, fits your time, your schedule, fits your, just your overall abilities, right? So that's really number one, getting a strategy down, right? And we'll talk and we'll go into strategy in a minute. But that first thing, you have to lock into a strategy, because the reality is, depending on the strategy, a strategy will improve your psychology, right? Once you lock in to a strategy, whatever it is, right? So I'll just go over the three that I'm going to go over, which is break and retests, ICT, for example, ICT, and breakouts. Let's say those are three that I know how to trade, right? But only one works really well for my personality, right? I'll say two, right? Only two really works out for my personality, and only one really fits my mental makeup, if you will, right? So that's one. Number one, getting a strategy down. And we will talk, I'm not just going to talk, and I'm going to talk about strategy in depth, right? Second, you really have to have a trading plan and a trading journal. If you don't have a trading plan and a trading journal, then you can't track anything. And I can guarantee you, the same 90% of traders that fail are the same 90% that don't have a trading plan and a trading journal. Like, you kind of need both in one. Like, it's not necessarily that you need to have it's not that every single trader that doesn't have one doesn't succeed. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is most 90% of them that are failing don't have a trading plan and a trading journal of some sort. Why is that? Because you have no way to track whether or not you are or about to be profitable or not. Like, it's not good enough to just look at your P&L and say, okay, I'm profitable. it kind of is just not enough. You need to have tracked data, right? Now, I'm not saying 100% of people need that, but about 90% do. And that's just a fact, right? Like, that's just a fact. You have to be able to track what you're doing, because you don't even know what problems are in your trading if you can't go back and track it in some form or fashion. I personally recommend a spreadsheet, because that has helped me tremendously. You have to be able to track your trades. Number 3 is, it's really like a give it. It's really like not a hit or miss, but it's up to you. But getting funded has been the number 1 way to be able to be a full-time day trader. Why? Because you get the capital a lot faster, and you get paid out far more than what you make at your job, depending on how much you can get funded. And the nice thing about it is, like, you don't have to be like, I remember I used to think like, oh man, I'm no good if I can't get like 10% or more every month, right? And that's just not the truth, because once you get funded now, especially with the rules the way they are now, right? Like, I remember I got funded a few years back in 2021, and the rules were tight. The rules were super tight, right? With the time constraint. The time constraint was terrible, right? It was the worst. And I remember I passed my first challenge, not my first challenge, but the first challenge that I passed. It took me 2 weeks, but it was terrible. It was just like, man, this is constraining, and it hurts your trading. But anyway, getting funded, the nice thing about getting funded is, if you can get enough capital, you get funded with enough capital, you can get one payout that can pay your bills for however long, right? Let's say the month. And then maybe you don't get another payout for a little bit, but you just need one payout a month. You just need one payout a month. Right now, companies are doing payouts every day, right? You just need one payout a month to get your bills paid. All you got to do is pass the challenge, which is difficult. It is very difficult, depending on how you look at it and how you trade and all these other things. But those are the 3 main ways, and I'm going to go into those. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into that. So, number 1, strategy. What strategy is gonna be? Let me turn on this. I'm about to go to the gym in a second, right? But getting a strategy down, it's gonna have to match your psychology, right? It's gonna have to match your psychology, your mental state, your patience, what kind of time, what kind of schedule you on. Do you work 9 to 5? Do you work for yourself? All of these things are gonna play a major role in you being able to understand and basically vibe and mesh with a strategy. Now, for me, I started off trading breakouts, and breakouts, I like them because I understood them very easily, but they just didn't vibe with me the way I wanted them to. They just didn't, right? And then after that, I went to supply and demand, and supply and demand vibed a little better with me, right? But with supply and demand, I had a hard time understanding the higher time frames, and a little bit was just because I was kind of impatient. And then I went from supply and demand, which is an amazing strategy, it really is. I went from, and when I say supply and demand, I mean supply and demand the way some people trade it, right? Like, as opposed to support and resistance, right? I won't get into that, even though it is the same thing. The way people trade it, supply and demand versus support and resistance, is a little bit different, right? But so anyway, then I went from supply and demand to ICT, specifically the silver bullet, right? So I was trading the silver bullet with the fair value gaps, and that didn't mesh well with me, but it was working, right? But because it didn't mesh well with me, the moment I hit a losing streak, I couldn't take it mentally. And the reason why I couldn't take it mentally is because I didn't understand why I was losing, right? One thing that you have to understand when you're trading a strategy is you're going to have to understand why you are losing, right? You're going to have to understand why you're losing. And for me, I didn't understand it. So that frustrated me so much to where I quit it in about 2 months. I learned it very, very quickly. And then I dropped it in about, no, not 2 months, 1 month, not even 1 month, like 2 weeks of straight losing. I let it go because it wasn't meshing with my psychology. I couldn't understand why I was losing the trades that I was losing, right? Now, fast forward to today, I'm trading the break and retest, support and resistance. That strategy meshes with my understanding. It vibes with me. I understand every bit of what at least I believe I do. I understand every bit of my strategy and the way I trade the break and retest. Now, with the break and retest, it is very simple. You have a level and you're waiting for price to break it, and you're waiting for price to come back and reject the level with rejection candles, and then for it to push up into the continued direction. Now, I don't only trade the break and retest. I also trade just basic rejections, which is just support and resistance, right? And that is when I'm in, for example, a range. When I'm trading in in higher time frame consolidation, which just looks like a range on like the hour or the 4 hour, or the 30 minute. I'm looking for price to come back to levels that were previously rejected to see if they'll reject again. And I'm looking to gain the highest risk to reward I can. Now, the thing with the break and retest, it is that it is really, really dependent on the trend. So you need to be in a bearish or bullish trend for it to work really, really well and gain the highest amount of risk to reward. And you see how I'm able to break that down very smoothly. I don't have to be looking at a chart. I can break it down because I'm seeing it in my head and I'm seeing it very clearly. That's what you need to be able to do with a strategy. And it's going to take time. It's definitely going to take time, but that's it all depends on the person and what kind of strategy works for you, right? Next, when it comes to becoming a full-time trader, getting your psychology to be built up and stronger based on you being able to track your trades and having a solid trading plan and a solid trading journal of some kind, that does a whole lot for your psychology. Now, why does it do a whole lot for your psychology? Well, because I can tell you from experience that when I went through my first real major losing streak, when I say losing streak, I understood my trading strategy in depth, completely and fully, but I was still losing. I started to lose. And I understood why I was losing, but it still was really tough on me. It was tough on my psychology. But because I had a trading journal, I was able to watch my P&L, not my P&L, but my trading progress. I was able to watch that, not because my risk management was so tight, not dip too far. In fact, it barely went anywhere, even though I was in a losing streak. Why? Because my trading plan, my risk management was so tight that I didn't really lose anything. In fact, at the end of that month, I was still profitable. And that blew my mind. The fact that I went into a losing month, I was losing for 4 weeks, really 5 weeks, more losses than wins. Of course, I had some wins, but more losses than wins. built my psychology, built my confidence in my strategy. You see, I'm going to make another video about winning through losses. And that specifically has to do with this portion right here. But my psychology was fortified at that point. Like, my psychology is ironclad. I know what I'm doing now because I was able to lose and still come out profitable, right? That is a huge part of becoming a full-time trader. You cannot become a full-time trader without having a really strong system, a playbook. You have to be able to use. Those are basically your weapons in order when you come to the market. You've got your strategy, you got your trading plan, and you've got your journal in some way. And when you come to the market with your weapons, now you're equipped. Right? And now you've got your weapons. You need ammo. Your ammo is getting funded. So number 3, getting funded. You know, like I said, getting funded is difficult. It's difficult. I mean, I failed so many challenges. I just can't even. I failed so many. I don't even know how many. It got to be in the 20 something like that, or maybe not 20, but like 15 something like that. Just a sickening amount, bro. It was just, I lost so much money. And when you can finally take a strategy, apply it to a trading challenge, a funding challenge, and then pass. Once you get funded, you have to realize now, once you get funded, that doesn't mean that you can keep the account, because I've gotten funded and then lost the account also. So the number one thing that you must be able to do is match your trading plan and your trading journal, right? Your weapons. Make sure that matches up with the trading prop firm that you're going to go with, because these now that prop firms, the space has changed. Now there are less prop firms available, at least. Well, a lot of them are just dead and gone, but most of them just don't accept U.S. clients right anymore. And so now what's going on is that they're able to make the rules more tough without as much competition anymore. Before, there was a lot of competition, right? So every new company that popped up and came out with an easier, more trader friendly rule, the other companies had to follow suit to keep up, right? They had to be able to compete, right? Now that's not the case, right? That's not the case anymore. We've got companies, like especially futures companies, that they're not worried about competition because they're in the heavy regulated space. They don't care, right? I think that's going to change very, very soon. But the reality is they don't care. But what you have to do is you have to make sure that your trading plan matches the prop firm's rules and expectations, because there have been so many times where I've talked to people where I've talked to like my community, and they take a challenge, they pass, or they either don't pass, or they maybe pass the first phase 1 and then get to phase 2 and then realize, oh, the consistency, they got caught up in the consistency rule. And I'm like, well, how do you get caught up in the consistency rule? Well, it's because you didn't read the consistency rule, and you didn't make sure that your trading plan and your style and your way of trading matched up with their rules. That is a big thing that you have to be aware of. So then when you are coming to get funded, you also need to define how you're going to go about making this money, right? And what I mean by that is, how are you going to plan out or define how much you want to aim for and how much you want to stop earning? Basically, what is your target at the end of the month or at the end of the week. Now, when I say target, I don't mean I don't mean like this is what you got to make every, week or month or whatever. No, that's not what I mean. I just mean the amount that you want to make. Is it going to be enough to pay for your bills? The amount that you can realistically make, is it going to be enough to pay for your bills? How much funding do you need? So that, because if you know that you average about 2% a week or 2% a month, okay, how much funding do you need to support your lifestyle based on 2% a week or 2% a month? You have to say, okay, $100,000 account at 2% a month is 80% of $2,000. That's $1,800, right? $1,800 or $1,200, I don't know. But that may not be enough money. Now, twice that might be enough money, but it may not be. This depends on, your situation, 2% a week. Okay, well, how much is that? That's 4% a month. Now, 4% a month times $200,000. Okay, that might make sense for your living situation. It just depends on you, right? It just depends. You need to make sure that what you can realistically make with your trading method, with your strategy, with what you have realistically already earned percentage wise, are you able to keep that up? Are you able to keep that up for the long haul? And number two, are you able to match it with an account and continue that and make sure that adds, or to make sure that falls within your ability to pay your bills, right? Now, when we talk about being a full-time trader, most of us are not most of our income is not 100% trading, right? Why? Because that's stupid. Why would you do that? Why would trading be 100% of your income? I know you guys have the dream, and for all of you idiots that think, and I'm sorry to call you idiots, but you're idiots. Those of you that think, oh, well, why charge for a course if you make money trading? Anyway. Why? Well, because number one, I worked hard and I spent a lot of money to learn this strategy. Number one. Number two, my time is worth my money, is worth something. My time is valuable. If I'm going to mentor you, then it's worth some form of compensation. Number three is you never want your income to be 100% based on trading. Why? Because anything can happen. Anything can happen. The broker can shut down. Your prop firm can shut down. Anything can happen. Your broker can get hacked, right? Not necessarily if they're regulated, but most of us are trading on unregulated funding firms and brokers. So anything can happen in trading, not to mention losing streaks. Anything can happen. So for all of you people who I affectionately coin idiots, that think that your trading should be 100% your income, stop thinking that, because that is stupid. All right. So what is my advice? Get an additional income. I made the mistake of trying to make trading my only income, and I learned the hard way. You don't want to ever do it that way. I mean, nobody does, really. Anybody that is profitable, no, we don't do that. Nobody does that. Nobody solely 100% relies on trading income. Now, we use trading to build other businesses, whether it's invest in real estate or create services around trading for other people. That's the fact. So this is how you become a full-time trader. You become a full-time trader by allowing trading to potentially pay all of your bills, and so that you can make a significant income from trading, not 100% of your income trading, right? I mean, even if your trading isn't the largest portion of your income, even if that's the case, that doesn't mean that you're not a full-time trader. That doesn't mean that. It just means that you have other incomes that are out earning your trading, which is perfectly fine, right? But the goal is to become profitable and make money trading, right? That's the goal, and that is how you do it.